Chris and I went to an estate sale today. It was 100 miles away, and the person who passed away, his name was Richard Scoville. He was a, I don't know what you call him, something big at CBS. I was able to video most of the estate sale pretty well, and his neighbor told Chris that he was
involved with field sequential color TV development at CBS.
So that was a color wheel that would spin in sync in front of. Anyway, if you haven't seen the video on the actual estate sale, it's a pretty amazing spot for vintage electronics and television. So some of the prices were a little bit outrageous, and I didn't want to bring any more stuff home, but a few things caught my eye and a few things caught Chris's eye, and I'll go over what I bought, and then Chris will go over his stuff. He's got to actually restore it and fix it. He'll do that on his own channel. I'll include a link to his channel in the description below. He came home with a few interesting things that will probably make pretty cool repair videos. Anyway, $20. I don't know why I bought this. I don't need it. But anyway, that's his name, Richard Scoville. You can actually look him up. He's got a... he's all over the net. He's known enough. So this is... he sent in the warranty thing on it, didn't he?
Yep. December of 1966.
So this is probably not a hybrid, then. This is probably all tubes. I couldn't turn this away for $5. I wonder what SB Electronics is. It's not Sprague, is it? They're, you know, these are SB Electronics. What is that? Is that Sprague? Are these legitimate orange drops, or are these some Chino clone? Chinesium. Next is a homemade, what would you call this? A
A and B battery eliminator.
Yeah, battery eliminator that he made. And look at how he did this. 135 volts, and then he's got Zener diodes to drop the voltage. And then over here we got a regulated, the A battery is regulated by an LM317, and there's the adjustment pot. And obviously you can supply 3 voltages. It's got 3 bridge rectifiers, so, you know.
And it's built 1920s style with fan stock clips, and you can shock yourself, and it doesn't.
Yeah, you know, just put your tongue on it in various places and see what.
Is that the school police?
Okay, the next thing is another signal tracer Heath kit. Cute with the eye tube, and then some more, a various selection of these capacitors, and they're
Mylar film.
IC, and I'm not a fan of these yellow capacitors because the Chinese ones are known to short.
Here's a little song I wrote. Might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy now.
Whatever. But they were $5, and this is a whole variety of flavors, so maybe for some of these TV resurrections, but I don't know if these are genuine IC or if they're clone rip-offs. And then high voltage gauge. I've got plenty of these, but I didn't want to see it go in the trash. And an old school fluorescent fixture. I don't know why I got... Ooh, safari light. Kind of cool. The reason why I grabbed this container for $5 is I had to have these neon lamps. I just thought that those were so unique. And then this one is just all drift-o-matic carbon resistors. They're probably all 500% out of spec. So anyway, let's take a look at what Chris got. I might want to fire that up and see what it does. So this is the first item that Chris picked up.
This is a Friedman Masterpiece radio. It's a TRF set. Looks like 5 tubes. You've got no IF and a TRF. You've got 3 tune stages, and you just get them to line up and you hear your radio station. I think it may be designed to drive a speaker. It has a B+ amp supply here and what looks like maybe an output tube, maybe not. No, that looks like a amplifier tube. So it has a headphone jack on the front. It may be designed only for driving a pair of headphones. And the cabinet's cracked, and some or most of the tubes are bad. Some of them were labeled with open filaments. They have these UX 101s.
Do we even have a tester that'll test these?
UV 101s that are, or 201s that are some of the first radio tubes ever made. And the binding posts are there in the plastic container. It was obviously kind of a project under construction. Some damage to the cabinet. It might be able to be glued back together on the right side there. It's coming apart. So actually it looks like it's a freshman masterpiece. I couldn't quite read it off the front panel. And this has instructions regarding the antenna, power supply, and you can actually use 2 different kinds of tubes, the UV 201As or a C301A.
All right, let's look at that little...
And it's meant to run off batteries.
Lots of current. Okay, here's the next.
That's a 2 transistor AM radio from Japan.
2 transistors. Yeah, I'd actually like to see this work. I really would. Is there enough there to power it up right now, or not really? We have a lead here that's disconnected.
Yeah, there's a lead loose from the coil, and there's a capacitor that the other leg is not connected to anything.
Yeah, that's supposed to connect to the antenna port.
I think it has a 9-volt battery connector on
Look,
it.
it's got a detector diode. It must just be an oscillator. I mean, that could be like a broad IF transformer.
Okay.
And then it's just got 1 audio stage. KNX all across the band all day long.
And
Boys radio.
Can you help me understand? Take me to the river. Get me in the water.
All right, so let's do a quick evaluation on this. And I was looking in the book here, and I found the original sales receipt. Look at this, 12,466 Scoville, and look at the price, $197. That was a lot of money.
yes.
You know that? That was a lot of money. That was a lot of money in 1966. I mean, for this, you would be surprised. We should plug that into the inflation calculator. Can you do that real quick? And
Yeah. $1,500, 1513. That's a little extreme, but
So $1,500 in today's money. Well, no, if you said the average income was $2.71 an hour.
yeah, that's about 2 weeks worth of work there.
Okay, power it up.
Pull.
I don't know. Kind of seems quiet on the inside. Maybe not. Wow. Damn, you were right about that. Can't beat a Zenith, can you? It's not dim either. It's actually bright.
Además que no va a pasar así de repente que va a colgar la estación, no, pero cuando empiecen a oír comerciales y después que están vendiendo medicinas mágicas como hacían los fines de semana, porque ya rentamos nuestras horas a esas compañías que la usen el sábado y entonces van a decir qué pasó.
Series string. Wow, it's got the original horizontal output, 38HE7. Looks like all original Zenith tubes, even the CRT is Zenith. Pretty incredible. 13X15 chassis. Look at no crap capacitors at all. They're all disc or orange drop. Everything's American made. This is actually in really good shape. You know that? Mm-hmm. Original knobs. This was actually kind of a score.
I'd say it's not very high hour.
No, it's not. There's a little...
It's not real dirty.
Not, there's a little fuzz there, but hey, kind of cool. You know, in the later years, Zenith went to a hybrid set of this, and they, with 4 tubes, audio output, horizontal oscillator, horizontal output damper, and audio. But no, this is very nice. Have to be careful because Heathkit electrolytics like to short and burn the power transformer up. I've seen... Oh. That sounds very awake. Ooh, and it's glowing. Very sensitive. No, it's got a resistor photocell in there. Alright, so this is looking at inside Billy the Bass. You know, it'd be interesting to put this thing underwater and see what it did, but yeah, chip on board, that's probably where the audio's contained, and it's pretty simple.
Magnesium in there.
Oh yeah, Chinesium. A lot of hot glue. Look at that right there. Hot glue bodge job. I'm sure these are mil-spec Nichicon high performance, high temperature caps. Precision resistors. mil-spec transistors. It'd be interesting to like deep freeze this thing and see what it did. Get it down to like -50 and just see what it does. So we went back on day 2 and picked up a few more things. I'll go through those real quick. And it became sadly apparent how much passion that this guy had for his old vintage radios and stuff. So we got pots there. These are patch cable connectors, the female side. I grabbed these. Everything was half off. Look at this. He had all of these resistors logged, accounted for, so he could just look at the paper and he would know what he had. It was 0.072. What a weird value, huh? Ceramic caps, some old resistors. These are all integrated circuits, and I'm gonna throw most of this away. I'll never use this stuff, and I don't have space for it. I'll go through here and see what I could use, but most of this stuff is gonna go in the trash. How about this ICO kit? Little transistor kit. Let's grab this old radio. There's not much there really. Isolation transformer, homemade. Random disc capacitors. Got some old paper electrolytics here. Maybe I could recap some old radios and use these. I'm sure that would set the vintage forums on fire. And I grabbed these, which are the actual rider's manuals. Everybody, you see these on, you can download these off that radio, antique radio page. I always forget the name of it. But the quality, they're so compressed that if you zoom in, the values are all blurry on the ones that are on that radio resource page. And they actually sell DVDs of this on eBay, and in one of these was the actual DVDs, but if you look at the DVDs, they're highly compressed too. If we just open this to some random page, right? So notice here, if I see how good that looks compared to those downloads. You cannot beat the paper copies of stuff. Also, here's something kind of interesting. He had everything he owned, and all of his family owned, I guess, tagged in these with like a post-it note. And you can see this is probably obviously somebody he knows. Is this a TV manual, or is this? But anyway, he had all of his TVs in here tagged. So very sad. Very sad. So he obviously loved all of his vintage radios and TVs, and he had all the schematics ready and all the parts. It's just very sad how he was obviously a very high-functioning, complex individual. You know, most people wouldn't go through all of this for their private collection. Most people wouldn't go through this for customers. They just, you know, the amount of cranial processing that all of this takes that you saw in that house is just incredible. I really would have liked to have met this guy and talked to him. And, you know, I almost wonder if he watched my videos. It's very sad to come into this after the fact. CBS Inner Office, Dick Scoville. .3D stuff, old school 3D. See how the red is offset there. You got some red and blue gels. Should keep those gels. It's kind of interesting. Throw the rest of it away. Not much interest in this. I love this right here. And then today they act like, oh, 3D is something new, but I guess they kind of gave up on that. This is not that old if they're talking about 3D Blu-rays. I was looking through this Southern California Antique Radio Society, and this article was stuck in there. Look at this. Wall-mounted TVs coming, but price isn't cheap. 1995. Fujitsu announced it will invest 20 billion yen or 210 million this year to construct a production line for 42-inch color flat TVs. Imagine that. 95 to 23 years ago. Just little things like this really tell you a lot about the guy and kind of personalize it, you know, that he would put that on there. Kind of gives an insight into his sense of humor and who he was.